Here we are in step number 3 of the U Part Wig tutorial, using Mrs. Rutter's hair extensions from mrsrutters.com. In this step, I'm going to be teaching you how you need to sew your hair extensions onto your dome cap to create your U Part wig. So here we are in our U Part Wig tutorial, where I'm going to be teaching you how to sew your extensions. But first, I want to show you how you want to create your markers on your wig cap so that you know exactly where you want to stop. So there's 3 red marks on the cap, there's 2 on both sides, and there's also 1 at the top. Now, when you're measuring the width of where you want your markers to be, it has to be the width of your leave out. So in a previous step, I've stated the width you want your hair to be, as well as how far back you want your braids to be. So the width of my leave out is 3 inches, and that's how far I have mine measured. Now the length back will consist of how long your actual braid is that's next to your leave out. The length of my braid is 4 inches to match my wig clip, so I measured back 4 inches with the measuring tape, and I made a marker there to show where you want to stop. Now we're at the point where I'm going to be also teaching you how to sew your extensions, but right before I do that, I'm going to show you really quick how you want to thread a needle. Threading a needle is simply connecting thread onto your needle so that you can sew your extensions onto your dome cap. Now if you have multiple needles, this will help the process continue to go on instead of always rethreading one needle at a time as you're sewing your extensions. So for example, I'm going to show you how you want to thread your needle. So I have my needle here. And this is a C needle, or also called a curved needle because of the shape. So what you want to do is grab one end of your thread and you want to put it through the eye of the needle. When you do this, you gather the 2 ends together and you create a knot. Now after you create your knot, you're then going to grab your scissors and you're going to snip off the thread right above the knot. The reason why is because when you create your first knot, you don't want a lot of thread hanging through because it will show through your extensions. So that's simply how you thread a needle. So now that you understand that, I'm going to go ahead and teach you how you want to sew your extensions. Now when you're sewing your extensions, you got to do so in a U-shaped fashion, meaning that the direction of your extensions as it's being sewed on your wig cap is going in a U shape. When you're sewing, make sure that every time you reach the edges of your actual wig cap that you go through the edge here, so that if you ever do decide to wear your U part into a ponytail or anything like that, there's no cap showing or any weft showing whatsoever. So now at this point, I've left my needle and thread intact, and I'm going to teach you how to sew your extensions through this point here, and we're going to go through the cap, and I'm also going to teach you the fold over method with the end of the extensions here. So to create your knot, you're going to go through your cap, you're going to go under your weft, come back out from under your weft, and you're going to create a knot in this area. So through the cap, under the weft, and when you pull through, you're going to do a knot technique that I like to teach. Now this knot technique consists of you wrapping the needle around the string twice and pulling through to create a knot. This is the same process you're going to do throughout all of your extensions. So now you go over just a little bit of space and you repeat the process. Through your spandex cap, right underneath the weft of your extension, wrap the string around the needle twice and pull through to create your knot. So you're going to continue this on until you reach the edge, and you're also going to do that on the edge as well. When you reach the edge, you make sure to put your needle directly through the edge of the cap, so that way it's very flat right against the perimeter of it. So we go right through the edge of the cap. You're going to go underneath your weft and do the same thing. Do that once again, going over just a little bit of space through the edge of the cap and create another knot. And when you run out of string, you simply can just cut off the thread and then continue with the rest of your threaded needles. So just open up your thread to tighten a knot. Cut the string off and then continue sewing, and then do your flip over, which is what I'm going to teach you. So now we're at the tail end of our bundle of hair of the 24 inches. When you're sewing your extensions, make sure you start with the longest extensions in the back and then work your way up to the shortest length. So the back will be 24, and then as you go up, it'll be 22 and then 20. So now we're at the point where I'm going to teach you that infamous fold over method. And what the fold over method simply means is you fold your weft back over so that you can begin sewing in the other direction so that you can keep following your U-shaped fashion. The reason why the fold over method is so important when sewing your extensions is because it prevents you from actually needing to cut your extensions. So the entire time you will continue to do fold over methods to sew in all of your extensions without cutting through the weft. Every time you cut through the weft with your extensions, you increase the risk of shedding in that cut areas. So that's why the fold over method is preventing that. So you fold over, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go through the cap, and then when you go under the weft, you're going to go under both of these wefts to create that knot. Once you do that, you're going to wrap the string around twice around the needle, then pull through to create your knot. Now at every fold, I suggest that you secure your fold with 2 knots before you move on by stitching. So now that your fold is secured, you're going to begin stitching up to finish off your 24 inches, and then you're just going to continue with your next length of hair. So as you can see, this is a finished result of the U Part wig with all of the bundles sewn in. All 3 bundles are included of 24 inches, 22 inches, and 20 inches of Mrs. Rutter's hair extensions from mrsrutters.com. As you can see, with the very last track that's sewn on, you want to make sure that each knot is as close as possible to one another, because as you're wearing your wig, this is the area that has the most friction from your comb and styling and things like that. So to prevent the threads from wearing and tearing and beginning to unravel, it's very helpful to make sure that the knots are extremely close to one another. Now that you have finished creating and sewing all of your extensions onto your dome cap, in the very next step, step number 4, I'm going to be teaching you how to sew on your wig clips.